Hi there, I'm Katrina,
Hi, I'm Ed.
and we're here to share with you some information, thoughts, and advice on sugar.
Sugar.
Yeah, the
Demon sugar.
Demon sugar. So, we've created a kind of like a mind map of what we know of sugar and what our understanding is. Ed is the trained nutritionist, so he'll be able to advise a bit further on that. So, sugar, it's one of those things that we feel that we really need in our life. But do we really need it in our life? And it's so yummy and so tasty. And the sad thing is that it's in absolutely everything, isn't it? It's also the one thing that causes so many health problems. You name it, diabetes, and also, as we found out not too far ago, is that it actually causes cancer to grow.
Yes, it does.
And that's the really, really tragic thing. And a lot of people think that, if they've got cancer, they think it's lungs or breast or whatever, but actually the growth, the cancer cells grow and thrive on sugar. So, in other words, in order to avoid cancer, you kind of need to avoid sugar, right?
In other words, modern life, modern commercial life, all the things in the supermarket. I mean, you probably think, like a lot of people do, that sugar is the thing you add in your tea or in your drink. And of course, yes, that's one form of it. But what you don't realise is how much mass-produced, cheap grade sugar, which has absolutely no nutritional value at all and actually can do you a lot of harm, is sitting inside products that are on the supermarket shelves where you wouldn't think to look for it. And that's rice, flavoured rices, that's sauces, that's bread, believe it or not. There's several different types, loads of different types of bread that have it added. If you look on the back, you'll see it in there. All bran, which you think of as something to help you go to the toilet, which you think is something not even the world's nicest cereal, that has sugar in it, added to it, so it's not 100%. There is sugar in so many foodstuffs that we just ingest every day without realising that it's in there. So don't think it's down to how much you have in your tea or your coffee or anything like that. That's the small end of the wedge, to be honest.
That's the obvious part. That's the part that you know. Part. But like things that we don't know, it's not that it's just even in bread or pastries or cakes and biscuits and things that we like taking, but it's like Ed was saying, in the hidden stuff.
Healthy brown
stuff,
bread.
Yeah.
What you think of as healthy, because it's packaged to look healthy, like 7-seed, multi-seed, brown bread, sugar in there.
Granola track bars, anything that tastes a little bit nicer, even in the nuts that you buy, or mixed fruit and things like that. So sugar has got so many different names, hasn't it? I don't actually know all the names. I know there's fructose, which is to do with fruit.
Fructose, yeah. And I mean, the scientists, the chemists will tell you that yes, we have to have glucose for energy, and they're partially right on that one, because glucose is a form of energy. But your better forms of glucose are from slow-releasing carbs. If you need slow-releasing carbs, which, as the name suggests, they release through the day. So when you have, say, a bowl of oats in the morning, those oats will give you some protein, but they'll also give you carbohydrates, and those carbohydrates will give you slow-releasing energy through the day. It releases in sort of packets. If you, instead of oats, have, say, a piece of white bread, a piece of white toast, you'll get a more intense amount of glucose, but it'll zap much quicker. And within an hour or so, a couple of hours, it'll be gone, and you'll feel that you want some more. And that's what's called the insulin spike, the insulin roller coaster, where when you have an intake of sugar, suddenly your insulin levels go really high. And so your body scurries around sort of storing stuff as fat because it thinks it's going to need it later. Then the insulin level drops and you crave it again. And that's where the sugar crave comes from. And that's why that's worse than a salt crave or any other form of crave. The sugar crave is the very, very worst.
And it's addiction.
It's addiction. It's addiction. Yeah, it is. They say the magic combination is salt, fat and sugar. Coat a beer mat in salt, fat and sugar, coat a piece of wood in it, you'll want to eat it. It's yummy.
Yeah.
The vital ingredient is the sugar. Take that out and you've got the salt and the fat, which are nice, and there are lots of salty, fatty snacks around, crisps and things like that. But I think sugar's still the number one that gets people, isn't it?
Yeah. And especially women.
Yes,
especially women. Sadly, that's true. And you'll find that when you're depressed or sad or even happy and want to celebrate, sugar is the thing that you turn to, because it is comforting. It's something we grew up with. It's a big part of our society, and it's a big part of children growing up. They're given sweets, they're given candy, they're given things, as a kind of treat for being good. So, it's kind of, it's all been part of our psyche, about our human psyche, not many parents or not many uncles or aunties visit children and give them apples or broccoli, do they? Because they don't have the same effect.
No, well, my mum can remember when she was a child having, I think she had an orange in her stocking on Christmas Day. Well, her father did, back in 1920, whatever it was, an orange in your stocking was quite a thing.
Oh, we still have oranges in our stockings, but we also had that with a lot of other chocolate bars and sweets. So, what do we go for? Bars. We're going to go for the chocolates and sweets, because also the wrapping paper, and this is where psychology comes in, and the marketing, the companies that do the marketing, they're so clever, because they work on that. And, if you have been a person who've always liked Maltesers, for instance, and so you see the wrapping of Maltesers, even just the wrapping is going to cause you to salivate.
Exactly.
And it's not the chocolate, it's the addiction to sugar, which is causing you to do that. So we actually behave. We have the same hormones, and the same thing goes on in our brain, which an addict, cocaine addict, or even what's the other one?
It's a hook, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the one that starts with H, and I can't remember what it's called.
It's a heroin.
Heroin,
that's
it.
Yeah, it's a
the heroin addict. It's the same. It's the same. It goes through the same process. So sugar is actually really, really addictive, and then we give it to children, and then we wonder what's happened to them at school, and ADHD and all this sort of things, because you've got the sugar spike.
Because the insulin spike affects mood, and for a lot of us, that we probably don't even notice the difference in mood, although it is there, and you will notice it the more and more sugar you have through the day. You will notice that when you're without it. But kids are pretty susceptible to this, and of course, children with ADHD massively more susceptible, because the chemicals in their brain are shifting all the time. So when they're on an insulin down, they're pretty grotty. They want to kill somebody. It's they're not going to do any work. They're not going to
fall asleep.
And of course we've worked because we've worked at a college. I've worked in worked in schools as well, and we know that after lunch, after they've had their sneaked off for their chocolate bar, or their, in the case of the students, a frappuccino, or what it was they would have, then suddenly they'd all go crazy
caffeine
for about half an hour.
Sugar
That's it, caffeine and sugar, cocktail, probably not any decent food, half an hour, and then they go to sleep. They'd be really difficult and unmanageable for about an hour, half an hour to an hour, and then suddenly that would be it. You get nothing out of them for the rest of the afternoon. And some of them would sneak off at about 3, half 3 to get another one, because that's the roller coaster going up and down like that.
Exactly.
And if they didn't have any of that in the first place, if they just had a bowl of oats in the morning, the mood would probably be a lot more stable. But then you're dealing with that. You're dealing with lots of problems there we're not going to get into on this video.
Yeah.
Would it be a good idea maybe to sort of move on to things like the types of sugar?
Sure.
Because we think of sugar as sugar. We think that's it, sugar, sugar. You'd probably be very surprised to realise that the original form of sugar, when it comes out of sugar cane, I know the sugar beet, that's another issue. Sugar cane is what we get most of our sugar from, and sugar cane is actually a superfood. If you pluck it out of the field and just break it open and take the cane out of it
and chew on the cane,
there's a lot of good stuff in that.
In Asia, we do that because we're in the tropics in Malaysia, so
it's quite common.
You can actually get the sugar cane stick and actually chew on it, and it's actually really good for strengthening the teeth.
And we know that in India and in Malaysia, there's little men with a stall. With a grinding wheel, who are grinding cane all day long, and they just juice it off into bottles. It just comes straight out the machine into a bottle.
Stuff.
There's no additives. There's no sugar added. That is it. And it's sugar juice, but it's got the enzymes packaged with it that help your body deal with it. And there's a lot of good stuff in there.
And that's what we're supposed to have.
That's what you're supposed to have when you add sugar to something. But it goes through a very, very long and dirty, degrading process from there to get to the white stuff in the packets.
Go on, tell us. This is disgusting.
Yeah, I can't remember all of it. I'd have to have a book in front of me to remind me. Dee McCaffrey in The Science of Skinny, she's got a great passage on this.
Book,
she describes it, and it is absolutely disgusting. You just don't want to have it ever again. It looks like grey sludge at one point when they're going through it. And they strip it. They bleach it. First of all, they centrifuge it and get all the sort of the crap and the impurities and everything else out. And then you get like the brown molasses. Well, you've probably seen molasses on the shelves being sold for baking, and you probably don't think to put that in your tea or whatever, or to bake to make things with it. But actually, that molasses is probably a damn sight healthier than the white sugar that you would put in your tea. We probably think, we'll have brown sugar. Brown sugar is healthy. Well, actually, brown sugar is not that different from white sugar, but molasses still has the flavour and a lot of the goodness locked in. It's not as good as the original, but it's not too bad as long as you don't have it in excess. There's a form of this called rapadura, which you can get in health shops, which looks a bit like sand. That's actually still got quite a few nutrients in. So it's good, but it's expensive, of course, and you need quite a lot of it to make up the sweetness, because it's not so intense, hasn't been bleached and rendered down. After that, they bleach it, and they bleach it several times, so it comes out white. and they add chemicals to it, and they do all sorts of stuff to it. When it comes out at the other end as a pack of white, sorry about that, sweetheart. When it comes out as a pack of white sugar, it's not fit for anything. It's not nutrition. It's not fit for any purpose, and actually, it's really harmful. And a cheaper grade of that, the bulk version of that, is what gets added to your food, gets added to your pizzas, gets added to your bread, gets added to your cereals, gets added to your spreads, gets added to your sauces. All of that is the super, super cheap sugar even you wouldn't have. Okay? So it's worth looking on the back of packets. And I think we covered before, didn't we, that ingredients on the back of a packet, the further near the beginning they are, the larger.
I don't think we covered that.
I don't know if we have, actually.
No.
Yeah, when you look at the ingredients, and it says on the back, if it says sugar, number 1, that means that is the biggest ingredient in that food.
That's the main component.
If you see it like about 20th down there, near the end, then there's not much added. Okay, so it's always worth remembering that look at the ingredients on the back and don't just look at what is in there. Look at where it appears in the list of ingredients, because the nearer to the beginning it is, the more of it there is. Okay, so if sugar's in the first top 3 or 4 ingredients, don't even touch it.
Don't touch it. Yeah. It's not worth it. Yeah, because it's mostly sugar that you're
mostly
taking.
Sugar. Yeah, exactly. It's mostly
sugar with the taste of tomato or something.
That's
it's
it.
It's not worth it. So we've talked about insulin. We've talked about with fructose. So
fructose. There's a bit of a controversy about fructose and whether it's a good idea or not. Obviously, coming from fruit, it should be good for you, but of course, it's been processed, it's been messed about with. That leads us on briefly to fruit and the fact there's sugar in fruit. Yes, there is, but there's also 2 types. There's low GI and there's high GI. So low GI, low glycemic index fruit is stuff like apples, kiwis, and these you can eat throughout the day. They are tremendously good for you, have a whole range of whole health benefits, and they won't get your insulin going, pretty much. High GI is dates, bananas,
like berries,
some berries, I think, pears. They're good for you. They have lots of good things in there, but they do recommend you don't have them in the latter half of the day.
Like oranges as well, I think, and pineapple.
The oranges are quite sweet. Yes, pineapple I think is fairly high GI. Worth looking at. And you can find lists of this lot on the internet. Rely on my faulty memory. You can find it. They'll tell you just low GI, high GI. But yes, after about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, good idea not to have a high GI fruit, and particularly not before bed. Because that's your, sending your insulin. Then
afternoon about 3 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock, we tend to feel sleepy anyway.
Yes,
so
exactly.
You want to reduce the amount of sugar that you have. I think. Have
them in the morning. If you can have bananas, have them first thing in the morning, pretty much, or any high GI fruit like that. So that's fructose.
Yes.
Covered rapadura, and then there's things like these new formulated sweeteners like xylitol. Now again, the jury's out. Some people say these are good, some people say they're not good, but you have to do a bit of research on your own. Dee McCaffrey says xylitol is a good one. Okay. Other people think, certain types of fructose okay. Corn fructose syrup is usually damned as being something that's not terribly great for you. I don't know the reasons why. I'm not going to go into that here, but basically you want to be careful with these kind of sort of hybrid made up sweeteners. Date palm sugar isn't too bad.
Yeah,
coconut sugar is really excellent,
good,
but of course it is about £6 for a packet. So it's
unless you're in Malaysia, then
well, that's all right because the things are growing on the trees there.
Exactly. And
we have to pay through the nose for it.
I know. Well, you're not in the tropics, so that's why.
Yeah, so date syrup, rapadura. I've used all those molasses, stevia. Now stevia is a funny one. Neither of us really like stevia. No, stevia is actually not a sugar. It is a herb that's 30 times sweeter than sugar. So be very, very careful how much you put in your drinks if you're going to add some. And it doesn't really taste. It kind of like has a really weird chemically aftertaste.
There's no taste to it. It's just total sweet.
Total sweet. It's like almost artificial.
I bought a protein powder, which I don't want. I don't like to have sugar. So the protein powder I've got has got stevia in it, and I think. For me, it's just too sweet because there's too much stevia in it. So I have to add a bit more cacao to make it a bit more bitter. Yeah. And Himalayan salts, because the salts add the magnesium, but also it makes what is so sweet less sweet. Add the salt to it. Yeah. So that helps me. But it's a very strange thing, and it works if you are a sweet tooth and you really need that sugar, that sweet kick, because it doesn't actually do the insulin.
No, I don't think stevia affects your insulin at all, from what I remember, because it's not a sugar. It's not a form of sugar. It just happens to be a sweet herb.
And it's not addictive either. You don't have some stevia in a drink or.
No, I'll say it's not addictive. I mean,
I don't like the taste of it.
They recently put it into Coke Life, didn't they?
They did.
They tried it. They tried to see if people would have stevia in a drink.
So comment below if you're one of
Yeah.
those people who like Coke and you got into Coke Life, whether it was something that you like because it's actually healthier. It's got stevia in it.
It's,
so
it's
please,
something I approve
I'd
of.
like
but
to hear from you.
it's because I've never liked stevia. I can't take it. It's just like, no, sorry, no.
Yeah,
I mean, this is the thing, and we're programmed to like this stuff, aren't we? We grow up with it. And it's terrible, really, because before the plantations were all run in the West Indies and everything in the sort of 15th, 16th, 17th centuries, or whenever it was all happening. Before that, we didn't really have, sugar was a luxury in medieval Europe. Very, very, only rich people would have sugar. Now everybody has it and thinks it's like, and it's put into our food, and we're not even realizing it's in our food. It's actually being drip fed to us. If it's in your flavored rice and it's in your bread and it's being drip fed, it's being, we're being programmed to like sugar and want it. So it is damn hard to come off it. I know that. I'm not completely off it now. I mean, I put molasses in my drinks, but I try and keep that to like 2 a day because I really find it hard to have a hot drink without some form of sweetener. I'm quite happy to do that. Katrina, you're off. I think you don't do that anymore, do you?
I don't do sugar.
Occasional bit of honey.
Occasional bit of honey, but that's about it. I am vegan, although the only thing that I do take is honey because for me it's like it's the health factor of the honey. Really, I like it because I like local honey, and
I know vegans say, oh, it's, bees are still being farmed and it's cruel and all the rest of it. We still find that honey is something that we say, well, it is a product that, mankind has always had access to. We just say, well, we like it. It's
natural,
and as long and what I would put in here is to say that you want to go for local or natural honey because again, the sort of honeys that you pick off the shelf are no better than sugar. They've been heat treated, they've been processed, they've been blended, they've had all sorts of stuff done to them, and they're not really anything more than just a sweetener. But you're putting it on something and thinking, oh, this is healthy, I'm having honey. Not really.
Also, if you are an allergy sufferer like myself, it's good to have local honey because the local honey contains the allergens of the area that the bees are in, and so if you're picking up allergy, so it kind of actually helps a little bit. And obviously, I love Manuka honey, but that's really expensive.
Very
stuff.
expensive,
and it also works as an anti-inflammatory and antibacterial.
Yeah, we know people who've healed their wounds on the body.
My mum had a really bad a really bad wound on her leg, and it was really open. And at one point, the doctor says, "I don't think we can do much with this, and I said to her, why don't you try some Manuka honey? And she read up on Manuka honey and the healing properties of it, and so she just every day she put some Manuka honey on the wound, and it actually closed up. It was amazing. It actually closed up. Now, it
does work on the body as well as in the body,
as well as in the
but
body,
it is about £15 a jar. So there's a reason why. That's
why
if something's expensive, as soon as you know something's expensive, you see what's expensive. There's usually a reason. It's because it's good. It does something. It's good.
So what have we got there? We've talked about the hidden sugars in processed foods. We've talked about that. So what can I have as an alternative snack is probably what you're thinking, because if I can't eat sugar, I'll be damned, what am I going to do? Because like if that's your go-to, then perhaps you need to rethink, and with sugar and anything like that's addictive, you don't want to just cut it out of your life totally. So if it's something that you go to all the time and you just say, right, control, not having it, that's going to make it really hard for you, because then in the end you're going to, the psychology of things and how we work, if we control ourselves, it's like a pot about to boil, you just like cover the lid and hold it down, and then in the end it's going to really overflow. So the idea is that you slowly wean yourself off, so if you're a person who has white sugar, perhaps consider going to brown.
Go to brown first.
And then find ways from that to move, and then reduce the amount. Because my dad, he used to drink a cup of coffee with like 4 tablespoons of sugar in it. The Malays, he did. Yeah. Now he doesn't have any sugar in his coffee. He doesn't like sugar in his coffee, so he's gone from total sugar coffee drinking person to no sugar in coffee, and coffee's strong stuff, so he still has a coffee, but he has it without any sugar. The other thing is, I just occurred to me, the apple cider vinegar is an excellent antidote against sugar, because it works on leveling your insulin levels. It's works really well if you have it on an empty stomach. I like to have it first thing in the morning, so it kind of like stabilizes my blood sugar.
That's quite That's quite an ask, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
To
It's
drink apple cider
not
cider first
neat.
thing in the morning.
You don't have it
Yeah,
neat. You
that's
have it with
all.
hot water. It is like, but you can have it with with some lemon and with some honey, a little bit of honey, just to soften the taste.
But on the whole, go for foods that do that. I mean, oats, like I mentioned at the start, oats are a great one for like smoothing out the insulin level and keeping it level all day.
Oats
if you've
are
got
amazing.
slow release carbs, which is brown, obviously brown, homemade brown bread, brown whole wheat pasta, but oats definitely the best one.
Oats are really good,
and they're also gluten free, which is a good thing. So they will just sort of like smooth out your insulin level, keep it nice and level during the day. And then if you decide to have a banana at lunchtime or something, you're just going to ride it like that. It's going to be no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find like there's a difference because I like to have rice in the morning sometimes.
Which is sugar.
Which is
carbs,
sugar,
because
exactly.
all carbs are sugars.
And or sometimes I have quinoa, which doesn't affect me the same way, which is protein. And when I have oats or when I have quinoa, I can notice the difference because when I have sugar, when I have the rice, come about 2 hours later, I'm hungry again.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hungry. I want to eat something.
Because the rice has done that.
Yeah.
Especially if it's white rice. You've got that bit of an not as bad as a chocolate bar, but you've had a spike. Yeah. So that means you're not really filled up, even if unless you had a load of protein with it, and it's going to rise up again in an hour or two. So there's that roller coaster going on again. So it even happens with things like white rice, white bread, white pasta. To really start to smooth it out, you want the whole meal forms, the whole foods, the whole meal forms. They call them brown, but you want the whole meal. Because they are much more stable. They don't have as much, they're not much of a kick to the system, which is why people prefer the white ones, of course, because it gives more of a high. Alcohol's another thing.
Yes.
Alcohol turns to sugar. If you have alcohol with a meal that's got a lot of sugary things in it, then you're basically having a sugar overdose. If you have alcohol with a load of carbs, the alcohol is the thing that the body uses up first. So all those carbs are just going to sit in your system. They're not going to get digested because the body goes to the alcohol first. So a lot of that will end up as fat. That's why when you drink a lot with meals on a regular basis, you get fat. Because the alcohol is what the body's taking first.
Yeah, it processes the sugar first. So people are going to want to know what shall they have instead. So if you're like me and you like chocolate, I love chocolate. There are alternatives. There are alternatives which I will share another time. You can make your own. Coconut oil is a fantastic base to use as a solidifier. So you can use that to mix the cacao powder and just pop it in the fridge. You can add whatever sweetener you wish. Like I put a little bit of honey, but at least then that's honey and it's not processed white sugar. That's the difference. And then I know exactly local honey. So at least I know I've made that chocolate bar. It's in the fridge and it's something that the ingredients I've put together and, to make it kind of like very chocolatey and moreish. You can always add peanut butter to it.
Yeah, that's right.
That makes
and anything you want, actually.
Anything like nuts, seeds,
cinnamon,
dried fruit.
That's right. Fruit, nuts, absolutely.
And there's nothing better than making your own chocolate bar because you've made it. And the only problem I have with it is that I keep running out.
Talking about running out, we're already at 22 minutes, and I'm already beginning to think that maybe this should be sugar part 1. And we should come back and do a sugar part 2 at some other point because we've already got quite a bit we want to talk about. And like Katrina says, we want to give you answers as to what you can eat instead.
So maybe that will be part 2.
So maybe we should come back to this subject.
How you can have alternatives to that. But basically, up your protein and up your saturated fats. Yeah,
and go for your slow release whole meal carbs when you're going to have carbs. Try and avoid all white forms of carb. There's a reason they say avoid white, and it's not just because they think it's healthy. It's because white is also more likely to give you an insulin spike. So, absolutely. Okay.
Ooh, I think that is it. That is us for now. Sorry, the screen just went dark.
Momentary blip there.
So that's it for now. And so what we'll do is we'll come again and we'll do a part 2 and be a bit more organised, I think.
That was the fellowship of the sugar. We have to do the return of the sugar.
The return of the sugar will come. So just await us, and when we're ready, we will put that up. So thank you for listening, and thank you for watching. And please comment below because we'd like to hear from you.
Absolutely, yes, please.
What are your darkest sugar demons? So share with us because you're not alone. So many of us have sugar addictions. So All right. Take care and speak to you soon. See you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.